friends, welcome back to my channel and welcome to a brand new eyeshadow palette tag video. As many of you know, eyeshadow palettes are my kryptonite, and I know a lot of you have a very similar feeling to me, that you just see a brand new eyeshadow palette and you're like, love, hearts, kisses, Cupid has struck its arrow on you, because sometimes an eyeshadow palette we feel like is like a face mask. It'll just make everything better, right? Right. I was tagged by my YouTube friend here, the Personal Beauty Lab. She is such a doll, and she has a lot of great in-depth videos about makeup and so many things, eyeshadow palette related as well, because, well, who doesn't love a good eyeshadow palette? Thank you girls so much for tagging me to do this video, and as many of you know, if you follow me on Instagram, and if you don't, you can follow me right here for all of the latest and greatest behind the scenes. I've been keeping you guys updated on my September Boxycharms. I've been doing a few tests behind the scenes, kind of giving you sneak peeks, but not any reviews. Don't worry, that all happens right here on my channel. I let you guys know that because of shipping and all kinds of craziness, I'm still waiting. So in order to give you guys an in-depth review, that video is going to be next week. So be prepared to have a tea and a snack for that, because it is going to be a long, in-depth Boxycharm video like we do here. But today, we needed to mix it up a little. I've been talking about Boxycharm a lot anyway. So we're going to be getting into all of these eyeshadow palettes and answering all of these questions. And I cannot lie, some things I've got 2 answers for because I couldn't commit, to be honest. And some things I'm curious how some of you guys would answer some of these questions, because some things resonate with me while others really fall off my radar in a way. So let's jump into this eyeshadow palette tag. And I'm going to be tagging some people below, but if you have a channel and you want to do this, please, the questions will be down below. Tag me so I can watch your video to see what you thought about these as well, because this is a different video. I've not seen it before. This one's called the Eyeshadow Palette Lovers tag. The original creator of this tag, and I always like to mention them and link their video below, so I will be sure to do that as well, is Angelica Limar. I don't know if I'm saying her name right. Ugh, sorry girl, but I do have it tagged below because you should check out the original creator's version of this, because it's always interesting to see the origin story of how some of these tags get created here on YouTube, so I'm going to be linking her video below. So let's jump into some of these questions that Angelica, the original content creator, has for us to kind of dive into, because some of these stumped me a lot. The first question is, an eyeshadow palette that I regret that I didn't buy. Buyer's remorse is a thing. I've definitely experienced it, but then I try to let it go because I do live in a tiny house. I have a tiny, tiny beauty space. So it's really a struggle to kind of like hold on to those things that maybe weren't meant to be in a way. It's like a relationship or something. I don't know. But honestly, the first thing that did come to my mind was the ColourPop Going Coconuts palette. I pretty much say that because that palette seems to be some of my YouTube favorite eyeshadow palette. Like, it's the love that they can go to, they can travel with it. It's a nice neutral palette. I do not have that palette, but I did search for it. I think when ColourPop was recently having a sale, I went to like hunt that one out, and I found that I couldn't find it unless I wanted to get it in a bundle, and I didn't want a bundle. I didn't want 2 palettes. I was specifically looking for that one. Now that I've gone back to their website, once that sale was done, of course it's right there, and I'm like, should I get it? Should I not? That was the first thing that popped into my mind, and then that struck a chord with me, and then I went down the rabbit hole of regrets, and they were all with ColourPop, so luckily they're all inexpensive. So if I end up pulling that trigger, then I can at least say it's ColourPop, and it's inexpensive and quality makeup. The other 2 that were really talking to me last year was the yellow palette and the orange palette. I know they have cutesy names. The ColourPop Orange You Glad palette and the Aha Honey, that's what they were. I still think about those 2 palettes, mostly because even the year prior we were talking about just those monochromatic palettes, and I was like, oh, I can't wait for them to come out with the yellow one and an orange one. And then they did, and then I haven't bought them yet. Again, storage, and do I need it? Would I use it consistently enough to want to? But that's where the Going Coconuts palette, I keep hearing people still talking about that. So those are the ones that are like circling me. Like, it's like a shark. It's a makeup shark circling me and still like, I'm still here. Do you want me? Do you want me? I could go away at any time. You know how ColourPop does. Sometimes something's there one day and then gone the next. That felt like a therapy session. Now let's go on to the second question. That was only the first one. A palette I regret buying. Okay, so I typed this out before sitting down to film this video, so I have some ideas, obviously, of what I wanted to say, and honestly, the first thing that popped in my head was something I was crazy excited about and got a ton of hype last year. You probably know where I'm going with this. I'm not one that usually dives into the hype of an overhyped, expensive eyeshadow palette. It's always been something I've been able to kind of like navigate my way through in my makeup love and journey that I don't usually get wrapped up. And I got wrapped up. I did. I even pulled this palette out again this morning knowing I was going to film this video because I was like, you know what? Let's just look at it again with some other things in front of you. That is how I like to do it. I like to open up a bunch of palettes in front of me. I just don't normally fall into it, and with this docu-series and certain shades spoke to me when I saw them, I was so excited for it. This is the Conspiracy palette. This is one that I can't help but regret buying, and it wasn't even because of the time commitment behind it, because that was a crazy long wait online and I never do that. It's just mostly that this particular one is so, I don't know, some makeup artists might be able to look at this and be like, oh, I can see 17 different looks I can do with this. For me, I literally sat with this morning with a bunch of other palettes in front of me, and I did delve into the shades I know I like, but I've not ventured into other stuff nearly as much as I thought I would. Because I don't have anything like a lot of these shades in my collection, that was how I was like, yes, this looks like something I could go out of my comfort zone with and try new looks. But maybe it's the creature of habit in me, maybe it's the fact that I've gotten so many palettes with other things like Boxycharm and my subscription boxes and my own shopping. For some reason, this hasn't inspired me the way I assumed it would. Having so many different unique shades in my collection, I thought, I don't have that. That could fill a void in my beauty space in my collection. But reality is maybe it's the packaging that's so bulky that I have to keep it in a separate drawer. I don't know. It's just something that I can say I could have gotten those 54 bucks back and not missed this so much. Today I do have on Diet Root Beer, which has a lot of fallout in it. Some of these shades, yes, they're really pigmented, so there's a lot of fallout in them, but it's just really messy. But I like the shade Diet Root Beer, and this white shade Ranch is on my inner corner today. I really like that. There are shades in here that are good and I like it. It's just overall, as this palette, I feel like this is the one that out of my whole collection I could be like, I could have done probably without this. I even like the mini Controversy better than the main one. I think because I had this one first, so I had a lot more opportunities to use it. And even though they're bolder shades, I have found that I would reach for this before I'd reach for the big guy. Maybe it's a size thing, maybe it isn't, hard to say. I just know that this is the one that just kept popping in my brain immediately. Like, it's not bad, it's just, you know, I know this person's kind of fallen in and out of favor throughout years. He's controversial. I'm not talking about him. I'm talking about the shadows. Meh. That's all I can say. Meh. The third question is a palette I haven't used as much as I thought. Well, I just kind of said that about the Controversy palette. That's why I bought it. I thought it was so unique. It was going to bring something totally different in my collection and on my face. And then it just didn't end up happening that way. So that one jumps out at me, but also something else that I asked for from Boxycharm because I thought, oh my gosh, it was, I think, last summer into fall, we were getting ready to do that merge, and I saw this as a choice item, and I selected it because I was like, for fall, this will be the perfect eyeshadow palette, and I really love this brand. I think they do a great job with their formula. That is the Ace Beauté Vintage Dawn palette here. How many of you guys remember me talking about this baby? I really liked the Ace Beauté Grandiose palette that had a lot of vibrant reds, oranges, coppers. That one had a beautiful formula. It laid beautifully on the eyes, blended great, all the greatness. Love that palette. Actually, I need to make a note to myself to rearrange my palette drawer over here so I can put some of my fall feeling ones up front. Full disclaimer, yes, as always, you can wear whatever eye look you want any time of year. I just happen to be the kind of soul that likes to transition my eye looks, hence the cooler toned look today. You wouldn't see that in the spring with me. You just wouldn't. But back to this baby. What I love about this is the color story. I wanted some vibrant yellows and oranges and greens. For some reason, I still feel like, I don't know if I can pull off a green, but I keep wanting to play with more. And then we've got these silvery tones, we've got some warm tones, all kinds of stuff. But I found this particular palette line or formula is not the same as the Grandiose. This one just lays a little differently. It seems to have a better spread. This one's more patchy. There's just something different about this guy. So this is the one I really thought I'd reach for a lot that I got from Boxycharm. That, unfortunately, I can't remember the last time I touched it, but I do, like I just said, need to rotate right now. It's kind of like the seasons with clothing, but for me, it's makeup. I think I thought also because they brand their things very similarly, I kind of thought, oh, their formulas are the same. I think I have learned that is not true. Another palette that I can say I don't think I use as much as I really thought I would is another Boxycharm item, but this one was one of the premium ones that was an exclusive box. And this palette is very high-end, and I thought I would really like it. And I've kind of learned it's not as high-end as I thought. This is the Fenty Beauty Moroccan Spice Palette. We got this in a premium box that was dedicated to Fenty. I was still excited to get this, and I do need to put this in my fall rotation, like I said, to play with it some more, because this does have a lot of good fall colors here. We've got some beautiful browns, some warm tones, some rich golds. There's a lot of options here, some coolness. The issue is really more, I think this needs to be layered a lot, and it's just a formula that I don't know. I just feel like this formula isn't what I was expecting it to be. It's not bad, but it definitely didn't stand out to the point that I was like, yes, I need to put it on my eyes all the time. But I could see me jumping into these, like my eye look today looks a lot like these swatches. So I could see myself pulling this out maybe in the fall more to give it some more love. I just really haven't been terribly impressed with this formula to kind of jump on it all the time. I have noticed that this one was discounted. I think it had an original price of maybe 50 something, and then I think it has been on sale consistently for like 20s and 30s maybe. I think 30s. It's not a bad palette. It's just not something I thought, it's just haven't reached for it as much as I genuinely thought I would have by now. But maybe it's because I got it in a different season, and I just said I'm a seasonal girl with colors, so maybe I'll pull this out even more this fall and love it and change my mind. That's a possibility. Stay tuned. Be subscribed so you find out. Ugh. Although I have to say, as I was just about to wipe off these swatches, granted, you shouldn't, hang your hat on swatches alone, but even up close, some of these swatches, they look pretty patchy and not very consistent. You know what I mean? So, I haven't reached for them for a reason. It's been a while since I played with them, so kind of sad about that. Okay, so question number 4 is the opposite of number 3. It says, a palette I used more than I thought I would. The first thing that popped in my head was another ColourPop palette. How you doing, ColourPop? I love you. Come hang out with me in my beauty space. They don't know who I am, by the way. They have no clue. This is the Misunderstood Disney Villains palette. I got excited for this, I think last year when I was on a no-buy, and this was one of the first things that made me go, this is a limited no-buy. This is the first thing I'm buying because it's so good. And I just love ColourPop. I just feel like the color story is stunning. I really trusted that a lot of these gem and jewel tones would be done the right way with ColourPop. So I was not sorry to throw, I think it was this is one of their more expensive palettes that they put out at the time too. So for expensive for ColourPop, if you're not sure, it's that means it's $22 instead of $12 or $16. But I loved this palette last fall, and I've already pulled it out this fall in a recent video that so many of you guys were like, what's on your eyes? And I was already sure ahead of time to put this in my description box to let you know what I was wearing that day, because after I put these on, I was like, oh, I forgot how good these are. I need to let you guys know what it is, because the video was not about my eye look at all, but I knew people were going to be like, what's on your eyes? It was this green and this green for that green look I did like 2-3 videos ago. Oh, so good. And again, for me as a seasonal girl, this gives me all the fall vibes. Like, I feel like you could go into those deep, rich purple jewel tones. You could go into the blues for like a sapphire look. I clearly went to that emeraldy green look. Oh my goodness, there's just a lot of options in this, and it's really quality. I kind of thought, because when you look in the palette, that it would be maybe chunkier, but it really wasn't. Everything applied and blended beautifully. And I really liked the shade No Spots up here to really start out my lid look, so I could make this color look even more vibrant after I laid this down first. So good. I have reached for this kind of throughout the year, because I could even use some of these more neutral tones for a crease and then use some of these gold shades. Just pretty. So pretty. Another palette that I did from Boxycharm use way more consistently than I thought I would upon getting it, because I thought it was kind of boring looking until I started using the formula, and it's really good. This very neutral but really good quality eyeshadow palette that I've reached for pretty consistently since getting it is the Zoeva Caramel palette. Like, this doesn't look like it's going to be very inspiring. In fact, for some of you, you may look at this and be like, Nicole, that looks kind of, maybe a tad boring. I kind of thought that too. I ended up getting 2 palettes, a warm berry one later, and this one. They came in Boxycharms. I get 3 boxes a month, as many of you know. So when I got this one first, I was like, you know what? It's a great neutral palette. I was really gelling with neutral eye palettes in spring and summer this year. I was like, let's just get into that, and then if I get another one, I'll just start adding to it. Once I had this, I didn't need to add anything else to it. I really loved the blend on this. I loved the formula on this. I really think this has a lot of options to be either sexy or neutral. You can go a little bit dark and vampy for date night with it, with some of these more shimmery or darker tones. I thought this was really, really good, and I kept reaching for this way more consistently than I thought I would. But I had never tried a Zoeva palette before, so I was really introducing myself to that line and that formula, and I am not disappointed. Oh, this also just speaks fall to you right now, right? These 2 shades alone. I haven't even finished putting any mattes on my hand or anything. I mean, my goodness. The blend is nice. Everything marries really well together. I was super impressed with this formula and the way that these shadows work on my lids. So these I reached for a ton this year. A ton, and I wasn't expecting it. I kind of just thought, okay, a small Zoeva palette, you know, the packaging isn't crazy bougie. It's just a cardboard, but it's nice. You know, I'll just kind of get this along with the 20 other eyeshadow palettes I get from Boxycharm and move on. This one stood out to me more than I even realized until I was kind of diving through this. Okay, question number 5 is my favorite half neutral, half colorful palette. This kind of stumped me because I had to really think about it and start sussing through my collection here. And I'll be honest, the first thing that came to my mind was something that a lot of you guys know I really like. It always kind of looks dirty. I always try to wipe it off before I put it on camera, but she even said as the owner that it's gonna look dirty because it's just the texture of the outside of the palette. It is the Tati Beauty palette. I really do really like this palette. I almost wish she'd come up with a smaller, like, to-go version of just the different colors, because I could just eat that up for travel, but this is too big to travel with for me. But for me, I thought this is actually, first I was like, Nicole, this is mostly neutrals. And then I was like, no, Nicole, you just reach for the darn neutrals so often. Because I love this row, and this row a ton. But when I have used these more colorful rows, it is a really good palette. I think she knocked it out of the park with this formula. I really love how these lay and perform on my eyes. And I am noticing, you know, I'm in my mid-30s now. My crease isn't as smooth as it once was. And some shadows, like this morning, one of the other palettes I'm going to tell you about, it's beautiful, but I had to do a lot of work in the crease, and especially on the side that I sleep on, because I'm sure that's getting a little bit more wrinkly than others. But this palette is so beautiful. It blends very nicely on my lids and my crease. It layers well on top of itself, and it has some colors that you can really make vibrant. So for me, this is the first one I thought of, but I'll be honest, I use it a lot for the neutrals. But when I do want that pop of a bolder shade, maybe on the lid or something, this comes through so beautifully. And this orange row is also stunning. And you guys know I love an orange shadow, but I still mostly reach for the neutrals because I just think that they're so good in this palette. Oh, the whole palette's good. The whole palette speaks to my soul. Love it, love it, love it. I don't know where the hell she went on YouTube, but if you could come out with another palette, even if you don't make another video, please let me know. Let a girl know, because I love these. The other palette that I thought of second after that for me was this Tardis Pro Remix palette. I'm not sure if we got this one in a boxy luxe, maybe. I'm thinking a luxe. This one has a lot of bold colors, and for me, I was like, no, Nicole, that's more colors. But if you really delve into it and what I've used it for, there's actually a lot of neutrals in here as well that I have reached for a lot. And then if I wanted some color, like I jumped into this green shade to make it an eyeliner one time, and the rest of the eye look was more of that neutral tone. I really liked this palette, and I've really used this a lot this year. It came to my mind when I was like, neutrals and colors all in one, because I usually have a lot of palettes in front of me when I'm putting on this face. This is the one that I'm like, oh yeah, I could just jump into this one and get the best of both worlds. Okay, so question number 6 is a palette I bought for the packaging. So this is where I'm a little different than some other YouTubers on this platform. For me, packaging has never, even when I was in a big house, been an issue for me. Like if packaging was cute, I was always, I don't know, maybe I was just always a 40-year-old. I was always told when I was growing up, I was a 40-year-old in a 12's body, because I've always been like, these are the rules, this is what you do, that doesn't make sense, this does. I don't know, I'm an old lady at heart, I'm an old soul. But even when I had a big house and I would see those big palettes that were like these huge things, or in shapes of music boxes or the Game of Thrones packaging, stuff like that, I was always like, where am I going to store that? Even in a big house, even when I had a lot of drawers, I was always like, I'm not going to be able to pull this out. It's not going to be with its friends. I liked organization. And I feel like it would be a little too scattered, and I couldn't find what I wanted when I wanted it. So for me, packaging has never drawn me in. If anything, it has always been a detractor for me. But now that I'm in a tiny house, you guessed it, it's an even bigger deal. It's even more top of mind for me. So as far as packaging goes, for me, if it's a pretty packaging, that's cool. But as far as this type of unique packaging that everybody's been trying to do the past few years, this is a detractor for me. This is like, I had to overcome the look of this housing wise in order to decide I wanted it. For me, I mostly picked this because of the shadows, not because of packaging. So for me, this was a little harder. And I guess the only one that I can say, and that's what I put in my notes here, is that this has the most unique packaging, but it's not why I bought it. If anything, the packaging that really does speak to me are things like the mini controversy, because it's small, the small ColourPop shadows. I have a lot of the ColourPop, like, smaller ones. That's why their 9 pans are speaking to me, and they're the ones that I'm still thinking about, even though they're not in this tiny beauty space. I still think of them and kind of want them to be, because, you know, they're smaller, and I can make them all work and have quality, amazing shadows. So for me, that's the kind of packaging I like. Although, I will be honest, an eyeshadow palette that I kept in my beauty space for far too long were those really cute ones that we got from Boxycharm, like the Tarte Rainforest of the Sea ones, because they were those circular ones that were so cute and compact, and it made you feel like you had your own grown-up Polly Pocket daintiness. It was adorable. I kept them in my collection far too long, even though I didn't like the shadows, because I liked the packaging. So that would be my one caveat. I don't have them anymore because I couldn't justify it anymore, but that is like the one thing that draws to my brain. Number 7, a palette that you like the shimmers more than the mattes. For me, I discovered some of that this morning too. The shimmers that I like more than the mattes are from this Alamar palette. I really love, and I put this on my eyes recently. You guys know, a lot of you love it too. These shimmers are fantastic in her volume 1 Alamar palette. Love, love, love. These mattes are good too, but I do have better mattes in my collection. I have others that I reach for more. There's also less in here. To put it in perspective for you, if I'm gonna pull this out, it's not because I thought, oh, I can't wait to use these matte shades on an eye look. Like, that doesn't spark my joy first thing in the morning. What would spark my joy is, oh, how the heck do I do an eye look today to get that El Malcone shade on this lid, or the La Costa shade, or one of these beautiful bluish tones, green tones. For me personally, that's the call to action with this palette. It's the shimmers, not the mattes. Not that they're bad, it's just that's where my brain goes. The other one I was gonna say was the Tardis Pro Remix, not to meaning to repeat, But in this palette, there's only like 2 mattes, and they kind of suck. I mean, they're not the best, they're not the worst, they get the job done. But these Shimmers are outstanding. Love the Shimmers. The mattes were like, bleh. Okay, they're okay. They're okay. They're not winning an award. They're okay. Number 8 is the palette that happily surprised you. This one is an oldie but a goodie in my collection, because when I did receive this, I just kind of thought, oh, this will be a nice little neutral palette. Nothing too crazy to think about. And now there's so much pan on this, and I reach for it every single time I am traveling anywhere, even if it's just a short weekend somewhere or a longer trip on my birthday trip / second honeymoon 2 years ago. I've taken this with me so many places. Even just for short trips out of town, I love this Tarte Leave Your Mark palette. I received this, I think 3 years ago now, and I received it from my girl, the Regular Girl Reviews. I'm going to put her Instagram below because she is amazing. She sent me this because she just wanted to send me some love one day, and I have not stopped reaching for it ever since. It's neutral, but the formula in these Tarte shadows are better than a lot of the Tarte formulas I have tried before. I don't know what's different about these tiny little muffins, and I know there's a couple others that every time there's a sale, I'm like, I see you, because I know how much I love this one. So this one shocked me in a way that I never thought, and it has lasted the test of time. Oh, so good. So good. I have, like, this is a makeup friend that I genuinely feel a connection to. It's an inanimate object, I know, but we're friends, and we travel together. We're travel buddies. I was trying to think of a newer palette that I felt that similar, like, affection for. Like, you just couldn't believe how good it was. Now, I'm late to the boat on this, because when I say new, I mean new to me, not new to YouTube, or more than likely you. Because this palette was the all-rager in 2016 and 17, I think, and I just never had it. But last year, when I was having my surgery, one of you guys just sent this to me because you wanted me to smile when I was recovering, and oh my gosh. I knew it was good because of the hype, but when you hear so much hype, you're like, it can't be that good. I mean, nothing is as good as the hype that is that big about it. You can't live up to that reputation. You know what I mean? Okay. This one does. Hello, modern renaissance. I know, this is like, you guys are like, seriously? Yeah, of course, we already knew that. I didn't know. I just didn't know. Because after all of that hype, you're just like, how can anything live up to that? A movie, a book, a man. None of it lives up to the hype. But this freaking does. You're right. You're right. It's amazing. It's awesome. And I love reaching for this. It's so good. I'm late to the boat. I'm always late. I'm always late. I'm running behind. I'm fashionably late. That's what it is. Okay, and I've not answered this on my Word doc over here, so I just need to feel what I'm feeling right now while I answer this last question for you. Number 10. A palette with the most interesting color story. See, the way my brain works is like interesting. Interesting doesn't have to mean good. Interesting could mean unique. Interesting could be amazing for me and the color story I like to reach for. Interesting is an interesting word. I think the palette that I'm going to absolutely say that I've had in my collection for a while, and the reason I keep it in my collection is because of the color story. It has things in it that I don't have anywhere else, and the formula is interestingly unique, is my BH Cosmetics Zodiac Love Signs palette. This palette is very interesting in a lot of ways. I also put this in a different category originally, and then I rethought it, because originally I thought, well, I don't use this as much as I thought I would, or at least I did when I first got it. Well, that's everything. That's that new makeup smell, like a new car smell. You just kind of like move on to other stuff. But today I rediscovered this, and recently I've been rediscovering this, and this has always been quality. This has always been great. They have baked shadows that are just so good and unique. The thing about this one for me, though, is one, the color story is unique in the fact that I find myself going out of my comfort zone to reach for more of these cool tones. Like, this is what's on my lid today. I have found myself reaching for some things that are more unique that I don't have in my collection. The mattes are somewhat unique, but not as much as these out here. I have found that I will get brave and put on some of these purples and pinks when that is generally not where my heart goes anymore. I used to be into pinks, but not so much in the past few years. Purples have always been kind of intimidating for me. Blues I come in and out of on my own, because sometimes I'll be like, ooh, I'm feeling this blue look because I got inspired, but other times I could be like, ooh, blue's kind of intimidating sometimes. What if I mess up? You know, there's all these things. But this one I always kind of just like slide into, like comfy jammies. I don't know what it is. It's just like I have this comfort with this formula that I know how to work with it, and I know I can make it look good even if I mess up, because some of these can really, I don't even know how to articulate it. They're so unique and they blend so interestingly that you can layer them and marry them to form new colors. It's a fascinating formula that BH has there with their baked shadows. Their mattes are decent too. They're very pigmented, as you can see, but like, ooh, I don't even know if I've ever gone into that color, but now I kind of want to. It's got a lot of variety. We've got pinks, we've got purples, we've got gold, we've got peaches, we've got these cooler tones, we've got these in-depth shades. There's just a lot going on here that you could really come up with a basic look really easily or a more complex look, and I've done both. So I would definitely say this is one of my most interesting palettes as far as like color story goes, clearly the layout, but also the formula. I am swatched up for days. This has been a lot of fun kind of going through these questions because they make me think about my collection in a different way. I'm so intrigued to know. If you want to play this, even if you don't have a channel, you just want to comment below and answer these questions 1 through 10, please do, because I'm super interested to know for you guys which pulls where. Because I could even be like, ooh, you know what? I think I like, as far as these mini Huda palettes go, I think I like these mattes better than I like the shimmers. So I could have a couple different things fall into different categories. You know what I mean? But I just pulled out as many things as I could and just started kind of dissecting it, which is kind of fun sometimes. It's like makeup science. We're scientists together. Thank you guys so much for going through all of these palettes with me in this eyeshadow palette lovers tag. And please be sure to check out some of my friends' videos below, including my friend who tagged me, the Personal Beauty Lab girl. I love you so much. Thank you for tagging me in such a fun video idea. Thank you guys so much for watching. And if you happen to be new to my loud, weird, crazy, unique channel here on YouTube, hi new friends. I hope you take a quick moment to hit that subscribe button down below so you don't miss out on all of these fun, loud, weird, unique videos I do every single week. Bye friends!